Okay, so it is Monday night, January 29, 2018, and I'm Tenacious Earl, and this is a Tenacious Baseball League 2008 Phillies replay update. Hi, Derek. Happy Monday to you, too. So, I don't know if I'm going to be going and showing the scorecards, but just gonna kind of talk through what's been going on here because, as you recall, there was some golf. We did some golf videos here recently, and I'm not going to talk. You'll actually see a video release maybe a little later tonight, which will discuss the tournament that I ran over the weekend. So some of the results and some of the updated standings. So, excuse me. If you haven't watched that, that'd be great if you did. If you don't, I understand. But if you're into the golf and there's still time before that wrap up video comes. But so this is about the Phillies replay, and so I made it through a full series. Today I got home from work and I thought to myself, I want to do the last game of the series, and I got through the second game, and I was like, you know what, I've got to just stay away from the YouTube video with this series with this project for the moment. Phillies were in a real funk against a bad team. I mean, the Washington Nationals in 2008 were pretty much garbage, and the Phillies in this series made them look like a Rolls Royce. So the first game, so I played the first game last night, and yeah, the first game was on July 29th, and so it was game 106, and the Phillies won that game in real life by a score of 2-1. It was a close game, and it was one of the, so it's funny. I texted Tabletop Earl and I just said, I got through the game, and I'm like, this is like I even switched the white die at some point to a different die because I'm like, every roll was just like infuriating. Like every roll went against him. The D20 went against him. The D6s went against him. I mean, you'd see a card, it would go off the hitter's card, the hitter's trash, and it hits that one selection in the column that's a problem child. And the Nationals won that 10-1. And and so, I texted him like it was just somewhere between amazing and infuriating. Like, I don't remember, and granted, you're not going to remember that when your own team has all that stuff. You're just going to think, oh, well, the Phillies were in the World Series. They should just be doing this. And, got the Nationals here just kicking the living crap out of them. And it's like the thing is, like Brett Myers in the early part of the season, I was looking at his stats, and he's actually ahead of schedule a bit. And so this game was sort of a what do you want to call it? Oh, the other thing that the Phillies did in this series is they turned into an error machine somewhat. Let's see, had a two-base error on Howard that allowed for a run to score. You had a two-base error later in the game. Where was that at? Oh, is that Jason Worth? No, that was Jeff Jenkins. Or no, it was Worth. It was Jason Worth. Two-base error there, so that didn't cost him any runs, but that was well past the time that the game was done. But you had Ryan Zimmerman. Ryan Zimmerman was a good player in that season. 283, 14 home runs, 24 doubles. Well, in this game, he got 3 out of the 24 doubles he will get in this season. So a nice 3-for-5 effort from him. You had Austin Kearns, who, went, if you look at this card here, you see that average? That's not a 3, that's a 2. It's just not, it's a 217. I know it's like backwards and everything, but 217, and he turns into like this. Some of these guys in the series, they just turned into, Ted Williams. And I mean, he went 3 for 5, 3 singles, just 2 for 5 for Ronnie Belliard. You had 2 for 3 from Lastings Millage. I mean, let's see, Lastings 268. Not not bad, just not, you know, not the 2 out of 3 ain't bad thing, which the first 2 games of the series he was. So I didn't even count him up here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 hits for the Nationals in that game. So, Brett Myers got whacked around a bit, and the Phillies made Colin Ballister look otherworldly. I think he gave up 3 hits, and 2 of them were when he was in his 8th inning of work. That's where he gave up the 1 run. So, I mean, this was a lesson. There were some times in this series that reminded me so much of the Phillies. That's what's kind of awesome and infuriating. I think it was in the third game. No, it was in this game. Actually, the second game. So the second game, second inning off Jamie Moyer pitching, lefty. It matches up all right against the Nationals. Because the Nationals Park is not one where lefties hit a lot of home runs. But I mean, a lot of singles. So that, but I mean, a good single number as far as like the ballpark singles. So I mean, Moyer should be all right. Lefty should do a little better probably there than what. But anyway, so they get the second inning. Ronnie Belliard solo home run, and then LaDuca with a double. Paul LaDuca. He flash in the pan LaDuca. I mean, he had a few good years, and then Felipe Lopez with the single to score him. So, it was so 2-0 right off the bat, like second inning. Then you get to the third, and then it's like, okay, the Phillies are going to do it here because you get a walk from Rollins, go to Victorino, hit and run, single, 2-star. I'm like, first and third. Victorino gets a stolen base. Second and third, nobody out. Utley walks. Boom, bases loaded. Howard pops out to first. Burrell, K's, and Jenkins rolls out to second base, and that's the Phillies. That is like most of the Phillies. That's like their typical way of doing business. So, I guess at some point I probably predicted this. Back in the 2008 season, they got the bases loaded with nobody out, and the big dogs coming to the plate, and I'm like, they're going to mess this up. And so this is my comeuppance for that. So then you get to the 6th, and Moyer cruises through 3, 4, and 5, 9 in a row. Go 11 in a row if you go all the way back to the second inning. Looking great. Single walk. Inning of weakness. Got to take him out. Jesus Flores with the bases loaded, single scores 2, off Ryan Madsen. Thought I'd bring him in a leverage situation, and he basically folded like a cheap suit. So let's see, and then a sacrifice fly after Kearns made it to third from first. So 3 runs in that inning. The Phillies did pick up a run on a solo home run from Jenkins, but 5-2. Your final. Home team, Washington Nationals. Looking like gods against the Phillies. And Phillies, at that point, their record drops to 54-53. So, perilously close to this 500 mark that in my mind, so here's the thing that I've got going on in my mind, guys. And just take it for what it's worth. See, I really want to finish this cards and dice, but there's this thing in my mind. If they get under 500... simulate Strat PC, or just play the games on Strat PC, power through and be done. This is all over. The thing that sort of like is really being problematic at times goes away. But that I would feel so unfulfilled. But then again, I hate complaining to you guys, and this is going to partly sound like a complaint, but I don't know. It's tough when you play these games and stuff just does not go your way. Um, and it seems to go against you predominantly. You know, you should have, there should be some good times and some bad times. You're going to have some bad times, but with a team that made the playoffs and went to the World Series and won the World Series, you'd kind of expect a little more love, and maybe it's like you have to wait for the love, but um, you know, my middle name is not Patience, so I'm not a doctor, so I'm not into patience so much. And you guys know that. So after that game, 5-2, the Phillies won both of those games in real life. They actually swept this series. I wanted to play game 3 online. I'm just like, I can't do this because I don't trust myself to behave. I had and playing it offline, I kept myself focused. I'm just like, I got to try to play this emotionless somewhat. It's okay. Just play it out. So, first inning, Utley error with 2 outs. So, and then single, 2 stars. So first and third, Utley with that error. So you mean this is an unearned run that comes, but then a double from Jesus Flores scores Zimmerman after he got third on that single, and so 1-0 Washington, just like all over again. All right. Kyle Kendrick on the mound for the Phillies in this one, and John Lannon, the lefty, on the mound for the Nationals, and a lot of zeros. Well, let me get to that, Ken, if you don't mind listening for a second. A lot of zeros here, up through the 8th inning. So 1-0. Let's see, the Nationals had first and third with 1 out in the second, and Kendrick got Millage and Zimmerman to both strike out. That was a nice thing. Then the Phillies got the bases loaded with 2 outs, but had the pitcher coming up, and Kendrick struck out. So, actually, there was only 1 out with that, and Kendrick struck out, and then Rollins grounded to short, so that ended that threat. 6th, a walk brought up the pitcher's spot for the Nationals in the bottom of the 6th, and they pinch hit with Ryan Langerhans. He flew out to Worth and right, so that was that. And then you got the 7th, 1-2-3 for the Phillies, 7th for the Nats, strikeout single for Millage, and then Zimmerman grounded into the 4-6-3. That was with Jay Happ, who came in. Jay Happ was on the roster, but he didn't get a whole lot of pitching time during this stretch. He was a long reliever for them, and so I decided to use him because I had some suspicions about this game. So that was through the 7th. 8th, they stick with is it Garrett Mock? Is that his name? So they kind of had their own long reliever in, and so they stuck with Garrett Mock. Now the Nationals finally got their comeuppance because Lastings Millage, with his 4.6, he gave up a 1-base error, dropped the ball out in the outfield to lead off, for Rollins. Rollins got on base. And then he didn't have enough range to get Victorino's flare. So first and third, nobody out. A decision to make for me, and I decided with nobody out to play the infield at corners in for Utley. Maybe should have played the infield in, and if that were the case, this game probably would have ended up in the Nationals' favor, but I made the call, corners in, a 4-6-3 double play to the second baseman, but it was turned, and Rollins came in to score. I figured the Nationals were probably feeling pretty good about their offense, being able to touch up the Phillies bullpen, So they would trade the 2 outs, give up the tie run. They get out of the inning with only the 1 run given up. Bottom of the 8th, Nationals can't get anything done with that. Top of the 9th, 1-2-3 off Ayala for the Nationals. Pitching, the Phillies couldn't get anything done. Then for the 9th, Condrey came in for the Phillies. Got 2 on, but he struck out 2 out of the 3. So that was extra. So that's going to extra innings. Then we go. Phillies get Rollins to third. He gets a 2-out single, then a stolen base, and then a passed ball. Get him to third, and Victorino strikes out off of Joel Hanrahan. Put up a 0 there. And then in the bottom of the 10th, it was Chad Durbin. Gave up a leadoff double. Proceeded to get Paul LaDuca and Ronnie Belliard out. It brought up Pete Orr, the lefty. Decided to intentionally walk him since his run didn't matter. They pinch hit with Christian Guzman, and he grounded to Howard at first for the final out. So we go to the 11th, still tied. Utley Howard coming up for the Phillies, and with the Nationals starting to get a little light in their bullpen at this point, they turned to Charlie Manning, the only lefty they had. He plunks Utley. Howard flies out to left, and then Pat Burrell comes up and smashes one out of the park for a 2-run home run. So that was 3-1 for Phillies. Manning then walked Worth, struck out Dobbs for the second out, walked Ruiz, but then got pinch hitter So Taguchi to line out to short. Take it to the bottom of the 11th, 3-1. Phillies bring in Brad Lidge, walks the leadoff batter, Willie Harris. Tried to get him a lead, couldn't do it. Thought about just giving him the defensive indifference, but I was playing that they were holding him on. So Lastings Millage grounds to first. Then Zimmerman grounds to third for the second out. Final out, Austin Kearns with a fly ball to center, and the Phillies get 1 out of the series, making their record 55-53 after 108 games. So in real life, they were 59-50. One moment. I want to confirm. $59-49. So Phillies are 5 games behind their pace at the moment. And I'm going to keep going with this. What I'll probably do is, so the Phillies are going to be facing St. Louis next. Could be trouble, unless they start finding the roles that they weren't getting against Washington. But that's kind of the way this game can go. They can get scuffling along and then all of a sudden get hot, and we saw them get hot for a while. But the other thing is, I always wondered if people who view the channel thought that, and sometimes I felt that playing games offline, I ended up having, like, the Phillies ended up winning more of those games. And maybe this is like a correction for that, because I played these offline, and the Phillies, they could have easily lost this game. A home run along the way from one of the Nationals, a timely single. Didn't get it in this game. They could have been swept. So, there's no funny business going on here. I've never had anybody throw that out there, but when you're playing a game and it seems like you come back and you play a game on the channel and it doesn't go as well as it was when you were playing offline, it just always makes you wonder if anybody may think that, but that's not the case. So yeah, I'm trying to get something out of my mouth, out of my teeth here. Oh, there we go. Some kind of herb. I'm reasonably pleased with what's going on. It's in this project. You can't expect. I've gotten over the expectation that something special was going to happen. I don't I don't suspect that I'm going to be any better of a manager than Charlie. And maybe that's partly a good thing because I think back in the day, it was easy to criticize Charlie Manuel for some of his decision making. One of the things he did at one point was he had I want to say two right-handers going in the bullpen, and he raised the right arm, and it's kind of like, okay, that's interesting. um, I think he probably had a double switch flub at some point. I mean, he came from he was with the Indians first, and in the AL there was not nearly as much. I mean, I think he must have been managing the Indians when interleague play was going on, but I don't know that for a fact. So might have taken him a little while to. Um, well, Derek posted something about the NBA, Blake Griffin being traded to the Pistons. I don't really follow it, but if anybody watching is an NBA fan, that could potentially be a move of interest for you. Um, but anyway, uh, so back to this whatchamajigger. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask and I'm getting messed up here. Just give me a second. Where am I at? Who was the starter in that game? That was Lannon. Where is Lannon? Did I put him in the wrong pile? I might have. I'll find him here eventually. All right. Well, anyway, let's get back to this. It's been a learning experience, and I'm going to finish it. I'm gonna knuckle down. I'm gonna do it with the cards and the dice. It's not gonna take. Um, I'm not gonna speed through it. There's Lannon. I it tempts me at times, but I really do. It's been an interesting learning experience. I never expected this to affect me in the way that it did. The TBL. I think I've said this before, but the Tenacious Baseball League format, tended to leave me as an what do you want to call it? An impartial, unbiased observer and managing both teams. So I really had no skin in the game. Whereas doing this, there's definitely skin in the game when it comes to the Phillies. Watching that team for, I probably watched. I'd say I watched 90% of the games in that season for them. I don't have Comcast Sportsnet anymore, so I can't watch their games right now. Or else I probably would, Granted, they're not such a good team, but I probably would still watch it. But I have DirecTV. I liked being able to watch the Bills on Sunday Ticket, so that's kind of why I went that way. So it's limited, and now this year, the Philadelphia Union are getting off of Comcast Sportsnet and going on to Channel 6. So I'll be able to watch my local soccer team. Not that they're going to be any good, but that was something I used to enjoy doing. I actually was a press box. I wrote quite often soccer back in the day. Back in the day, it makes it sound like it was 20 years ago. It was 6-7 years ago, something like that. So I don't know. I want to get my son up there to a game and would like to get. I mean, he wants to play, and I just want to get that going. But in any regard, I guess my point was that I was watching this. I had emotional investment in these players. I still love a lot of these players. Jason Worth, even after he basically, uh, you know, viewed him as a traitor or whatever, going to the Nationals. But even with that, he's still a guy that's a he was a part of that team, an important part of that team, and so it touches a nerve that I guess I thought was only reserved for certain things. But I mean, I think when I get done with this, it's going to be very. I think it'll be very fulfilling, to a fulfilling feeling, even if they finish with like 85 wins or 82 wins, even if they're at 500, it'll feel fulfilling to maybe find a passion that I didn't know that I still like held inside me. So for this team. So Derek mentions about Los Angeles FC, an expansion team in MLS this year. Ken covered the one of the women's leagues that they had many permutations. Excuse me. Another sad story. I feel like in American sports, especially for soccer. I mean, we could go on and on about soccer, but women. I saw this week that the Boston Breakers are folding, which, for everybody that's on the Patriots bandwagon, it's too bad that they don't really take an inward look at their owner and see what really matters to him, because there's he has gotten so much leeway when it comes to supporting. I mean, he's still held as some kind of savior for American soccer, and the situation up there in Boston is with the Revolution and now the Breakers. Gillette Stadium, when Revolution are there. I mean, when the Revolution are playing pretty well, they get some people in there, but it's just a mammoth stadium. And Robert Kraft, he really doesn't care because he's making his money off the Patriots, and soccer isn't challenging that right now, so he's probably more than happy. That's what he wants, and that's what a number of the owners in. You can bet the Yankees with their partnership in New York City FC. They probably are fine with that too. Clark Hunt was in it for a while. I think he may still be in it with FC Dallas. I think he might still be in it, but he owns the Chiefs. I'm sure he has no issue with soccer being the distant number 5 in this country. Even though, I mean, there are so many people that follow teams overseas. So sorry to bridge into that so much, but there's a chance for change here. But the president of the soccer federation, there's an election for it coming up, but they're going to pick a person who's going to continue to hold the owners of the pro teams in MLS. They're going to hold them in the highest regard and not really challenge what they plan to do. So, Chargers playing in a soccer stadium is an embarrassment. Yeah. Hi, Jerry. Yeah, it's generally speaking, sports in our country are they're run by a very small group of people. And the Chargers move, sad, but they were going to they're going to hold San Diego hostage, just like Oakland held, or not Oakland, the Raiders held Oakland hostage for a stadium. And when the city said, "You guys, I mean, show us," so what you do is you got like Minnesota this weekend coming up. They got their stadium. Now they get all of the perks, but really, are they going to get the bump having the Super Bowl that was promised? I'll bet in a few years there will be a study. The trouble is, I'm not sure these studies really ever get that much publicity, but I'm sure the studies will be out there eventually that it's not really the kick in the economy that everybody thought it was, and but that's the way it is. So, but anyway, let's focus here. I got to focus back onto the replay. Cardinals next. I believe that's a 3-game series, so we're gonna keep going. Yeah, Jerry, sorry. That's kind of the way it is. Jerry's wondering if Phillies are playing soccer. But, when we get to talking here, I get to talking about a myriad of topics. So, we're going to keep going. I'm close to 110, which is great. That'd be another 52. Just got to keep cranking along here. Little by little, I'm going to work in a little bit of golf as I go, just to try and, moderate. I know you guys, you baseball guys, aren't necessarily into the golf stuff, but I do seem to have some people who do watch the golf stuff, so we're gonna keep with it. I'm probably gonna hold off with any more. Yeah, Jerry, I know you are. I know you know Ken and I, and maybe Derek to a little bit lesser extent. I wish I was more of a soccer head now, but sometimes you feel like you miss out. Obviously, oh, there's Silverback. Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate your feedback. I know the Galaxy are currently talking about trying to get a hold of Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who was once a very, I mean, he's still a very well-known, tall, physical center forward. Extremely talented, Swedish, even though he's kind of has a Slavic name. His parents migrated many years ago to Sweden. So, but anyway, I think they're trying to get him, and somehow that would be against the rules, but it's the Galaxy, so MLS will figure it out. But if you ever want to figure out MLS, just figure out what the Galaxy are going to do next, and their rules will change to help them. It's kind of the way it's been for ever since David Beckham came into the league, so don't expect it's going to change too much in the near future. And they've been pretty awful here the last couple of years, so I guess that's fine. Ken says he just picked up the fictional World Soccer set for Soccer Blast. Well, that's cool. You could pick any random country and just throw those guys in there. You could do a Brazilian league. You could do Uruguayan. You could do Bosnian, Austrian, Norse. On Football Manager on the computer, I had a Danish league going. I actually got my team promoted out of whatever their lowest league was. I like to take a team from the lowest league and try to get them up through. But, well, thanks, Jerry. He's saying that just giving me some love on the golf game and on History Maker Golf, and I appreciate that. It's an interesting game. I know that some people would probably prefer to have real golfers, and again, I still haven't forgotten about, I made cards for a lot of you, and I just have to figure out what project I'm going to do. But like I said, I kind of got to keep forging instead of getting sidetracked. So the little if you know anything about railroads, they got these things called sidings that, when two trains needed to pass each other back in the day, you'd have one of the trains would go off on the siding so that the other train could pass. I can't get off on too many of those. I got to kind of keep going, you know. So I need to be careful because if I get down the rabbit hole too much, it just gets you know, I lose focus, and then this Phillies project will go until May, and I'd really like to get it done by March. So by the end of March. So choo choo. That's right, Jerry. The Phillies train is going. Unfortunately, I see a flock of cardinals trying to get in the way. They're going to be coming up next. So hopefully they can. 5 groups of 4 or 4 of 5 for the new set. Um. Oh, 5 groups of 4 or 4 of 5. Oh, I see. So this is like a World Cup kind of, or a like a Euro competition or something like that. So you got 20 teams. I'd probably cut it to 18. Or no. Yeah, no. I would do the. Oh man, yeah. You got 5 groups of 4. I guess I'd probably cut out 4 teams and do a 4. Either that, or I would invest in the team, how to make your own teams. I assume that they have one of those, and try to create another 4 to make it 24, so you could have 6 groups. You could do 4 of 4 and just cut out 4 teams. That 5 of 4 seems a little askew. It seems like it would be tough to kind of get them into a knockout round. I'm sure you could figure it out, but I feel like if you did 4 of 4, then you could take the top 2 teams in each group, and you could kind of do a little quarterfinals, semifinals, finals, and all that stuff. So, but it got to use your imagination. It's I mean, that's half the fun of this. Is actually it's probably I'd have to ponder that for a while. What percentage of fun is using your imagination to devise all these things? Because I think generating projects is almost as fun as playing the games at times. So, third world teams in the set that won't score a goal. I'm thinking, yeah, do what you go with God, Ken. maybe you'll need to jack a couple of traits or whatever. I don't know what. I've never seen the blast format. I know there's hockey blast and soccer blast, and probably lacrosse blast. So I don't know how close that is to second season, if that's the format it's in, or if it's there are a lot of videos, but you have to understand, if I start watching a lot of videos on how to with other games, I'm just going to get like, it's not going to be pretty. It a could involve a straight jacket and padded walls. So yeah. All right, so I'm going to sign off. I want to go watch some television with the misses. So thanks for the 2 of you who have given the thumbs up. You know, Tabletop Earl, and I both appreciate everybody who checks out the channel here, who supports it loyally. You know, I should do this early on because it's kind of tough at this point. I don't know if people skip to the end, but if you're still watching this, comment with something that you would like to see happen here on the channel. Always trying to come up with ideas for things to do. Buying games is not easy. I think the next thing I'm probably going to buy is the new Strat set, but you know, any ideas for projects, mini projects, or anything that would be relatively inexpensive and something that maybe I could, or even just if it's like an explanation of something, Maybe a type of video where I explain some things. Tutorials, if there's anything in particular that you'd like a tutorial about. I'm not sure if I'm the most qualified person to give a tutorial, but I can do the best I can. So, all right, I'm going to sign off. Thanks a lot. See you next time. Enjoy your tabletop sports. And hopefully, here in another day or two, we'll have a live ball game from Busch Stadium for the Phillies and the Cardinals. So, until then, hang in there and enjoy your tabletop sports.